Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. Welcome to everyone who's coming on. Welcome to all my replay viewers. If you missed us live and have any questions or want to weigh in on this conversation, always feel free to tweet at me. Although I know this is a relatively sensitive topic, so if you want to talk with me about anything, you can email me, and I will give you my contact information here in a couple of minutes. I'm going to flip around my camera so I can talk with you guys and be able to say hello to you. Hello, welcome to everyone who's coming on. I know I don't normally come on Sundays, but I wanted to come on. Hi, Mom, Teach, Repeat. Thanks so much for coming on and commenting. If this is your first time with me, my name is Keely. I'm the owner of LoveHipAdventure.com and a blog about the marriage relationship, how to have intimacy in marriage, how to go deeper with your spouse. Sometimes I talk about lifestyle posts, and I wanted to come on today and address this thing that I know is a huge issue in marriage. And I know I don't normally come on Sundays, but tomorrow my schedule's kind of weird and I may not make it on. But I told you guys on Friday that I was going to talk about how to deal with the hurt and pain of finding out that your spouse has a porn addiction. And I had someone write into me this week and kind of tell me that they had this happen with them in their marriage, and they are not the only ones. So if you're dealing with that in your marriage today, you're not the only one either, and I wanted to give you some words of comfort and some just, sit here with you and sort of think through some of this because it's such a difficult topic. Now, guys, let me tell you something. I think porn is on the rise, okay? It's so easy to get access to it. Hi, Michelle from Georgia. It's so easy to get access to porn. And even if you're not looking for it, it comes through. I've never once looked at porn or gone out looking for it on my own, but it has come across plenty of social media outlets when I was not expecting it. I have accidentally clicked on different links and things that I did not expect, and so it's been thrown in my face whether I want it or not. And I have worked very hard at keeping that stuff away from me, but as guarded as I have been in my life, I've come face to face with it. And I thank God that I've never become addicted to porn, but I think that we're going to see an even higher rise of this in our culture and our society because A, there is so much available access to it, and B, it is being told to people who want to spice up their sex lives that they should look at porn. And I think that is the biggest issue in marriages. Not the biggest or the only one, but when we're talking about sexual intimacy issues, there is a lot of times it's because of sexual sins or because of sexual misunderstandings, whether it's been brought to us through porn or through some past abuses or whatever. This is going to devastate many people in their marriages. And so what do you do if you have found out that your spouse has a porn addiction or that they've been looking at that? What do you do if you've been looking at porn? What if your spouse is asking you to do this in the bedroom? What do you say? What do you do? How do you deal with it? Now, there are so many different topics or different avenues to cover. So first of all, let's address the question, what if my spouse has been looking at it and I find out about it? What do I do? Now, let me tell you, the first thought you're going to have is, what is wrong with me? I think that we often will internalize this addiction and make it about us because we will think, well, that my spouse does not think I am attractive, they don't think I'm sexy, I'm not meeting their sex needs because they're having to go outside of our bedroom to have their needs met. And I think that that is a very common and very normal to think when it comes to porn addictions. You start immediately looking at yourself and thinking, I can never stack up. I'm never going to be able to be that for my spouse. Clearly, our sex life must be in ruins because they are doing that or looking to that way. I thought I was meeting their needs. Then there's going to be the feelings of betrayal. You're going to feel betrayed by your spouse, that they were hiding things from you. It is never fun to find out that your spouse has hidden anything from you, whether it's porn use or something else that you guys have agreed is not okay, and you find out they've been hiding it. So you feel betrayed and you deal with a sense of loss of trust because you feel like they've broken your trust. They've lied to you. They haven't been honest with you about it. So I think there's all those different emotions that flood over you. Let me tell you what is going on right now. in the world today, there is a website. It's called fightthenewdrug.org, and it talks about porn addictions. And they are doing a lot of research on this. They are talking about the effects of porn on people, on their brains, the addiction that people deal with porn. And I think that we need to understand what porn does to a person's mind. It holds them captive, and they feel this urge. They must go see it again. They must have it again. And they are saying that this is just as addictive as any drug out there, like heroin or other addictive drugs. And so it makes the user seek after it, and they go and they want to watch it, and they may even hate themselves while they're doing it, but their bodies, their minds, they have to have it. And then it's just this vicious cycle, because the person who's caught up in the addiction, they are not happy. They don't love it. They are feeling guilty. It's being linked now to depression and anxiety and so many other things. And I think we want to make their addiction to porn about us, and it's not. It's about them. It's about what that is doing to their minds. And so if you have a spouse that is dealing with this, I know how hard it is going to be for you to have any sympathy whatsoever towards them, because they've done something to break your trust. But keep this in perspective, that the person who is addicted to anything is the one being held captive. It would be the same issue as if you had someone in your life that you loved that was addicted to drugs. It's not about you. The drugs have nothing to do with you. They're not doing drugs because of you. They're doing drugs because they made a bad choice, and now they're hooked on it, and they don't know how to get away from it. And the same thing happens to porn. Whether your spouse went out looking for it or not, whether they've used it as a coping mechanism or it's just gotten in their face and now they're hooked on it, it probably wasn't about you to begin with. And if it was, if that's the excuse they give you, if that's what they tell you, that's only part of the issue. People who are going out looking at porn, a lot of the times it's got something to do with them. They are missing something. And so don't blame yourself for the decisions that your spouse has made. I think we want to blame ourselves so much. We want to take on that responsibility, like, well, what if I had done something different? They still make their own choices. So I hope that you can find some amount of empathy or sympathy for your spouse if they are dealing with this, because it is so hard to break. Do you know how many family, friends, and relatives that I have that are smoke, that they smoke, and they have wanted to quit smoking for years and years, but they just can't. They can't kick that habit. It's held them captive, and they're a slave to it. And no, they don't like it. They don't like wasting their money on it. They don't like feeling like they have to go have a cigarette every so many minutes, but they are held captive by it. And this is what happens with porn. And so I want you to start looking at your spouse and seeing the hurt that they are experiencing too. And no, that can't be your first thought. That can't be your first emotion or feeling, because all you're going to be able to deal with is your own hurt. But at some point, I hope you will get to the point where you can see the pain and the hurt that they are in. Now, what about if your spouse has been open with you about the porn use and you're not okay with it, and they just tell you, well, look, this is, I'm going to look at porn and I don't care what you have to say. Here's where you have to go. You can't force them to quit looking at porn. You can't force your spouse to do anything. But you can make your own decisions of how you're going to respond to that. And guys, I'm sorry, porn destroys intimacy. It just does. And if they have made that decision, then it is your right to say, look, I'm not going to continue spending time sexually with you until you seek help on this, any more than you would keep having sex with them if they were having an affair. If they're not actively trying to kick that habit, you have to make a decision. Will I keep having sex with them or not? Will I continue to be a part of this or no? And that's completely up to you. I can't tell you what to do in that situation. I don't think that you should be okay with a porn use, a porn habit. This is destroying your spouse to begin with, because there is so much research being done now to show how it rewires our brains, how it causes us causes the user to deal with depression and anxiety and to deal with, just personal image issues, it is destructive to them, whether they can see that or not. And I don't think that you should ever condone it or be okay with it. And you should continue to have those conversations. I'm not okay with this. I want you to change it. And if you can't, that's fine. But I'm going to make this decision because of it. And you have to decide, are you going to keep having sex with your spouse when they are being unfaithful to you in that? If they aren't actively trying to change it. Now, this is a very different situation. If you have a spouse who is trying to kick that habit, who recognizes that it's wrong, and they are doing everything in their power to stop it, but then they mess up. And that is going to happen. If you have a spouse that is struggling with porn, it's like any other addiction. Guys, I'm addicted to donuts and carbohydrates, all right? I'm just going to say it loud and proud. And not proud. I'm just going to be honest about it, though. And I eat crackers and breads up and down all day. And when I start doing that, my body wants it so much that I eat and eat and eat. And it's really unhealthy for me because I never get satisfied by it. So I'm going to tell you, I have had to show an enormous amount of self-control with carbohydrates. And sometimes I just really blow it. Some days I'm like, I'm going to eat donuts and cake and whatever else. And some days, man, I just totally blow it. And I feel terrible about myself when I do. And think about your spouse in that perspective. If they're trying to kick this habit and then they disappoint themselves and they know they've disappointed you, how much it hurts them. And are they going to hide it from you? Yeah, they probably are going to hide it from you. That's something that you really have to talk with them about. They can't hide it anymore. And depending upon your response to their addiction will determine how open they choose to be, how much they rely on you and come to you and say, man, I've messed up again and I've got to have your forgiveness. If you lose your mind every single time and you blow up with them every single time and and not to say that you aren't entitled to do those things, it will make it more difficult for them to tell you in the future. They don't want to hurt you. Your spouse doesn't want to hurt you. And I hope that you can believe that. They're not looking at the porn so that they can hurt you. It is something that they are addicted to and they're struggling inside of themselves over it and they feel terrible and guilty and shame and they don't want to put that on you. And so I'm not saying it's okay for your spouse to hide it from you, but if they do hide it from you or they don't come and tell you right away, I hope that you can show some amount of sympathy or at least understanding of their position. But still, you must hold fast to your whatever you guys decide is the accountability process for them to go through. So putting in place some accountability is super important. And you and your spouse need to work this out, okay? They need to be very open and honest with you about when they're most vulnerable. They need to let you know where are the weak links in the internet, or when do they tend to look at this the most, so you guys can kind of work together as a team and help each other through this process. So I know a lot of people would suggest that your spouse have an outside accountability when it comes to kicking the porn habit, and I think that it very well can help them to have that. Now, will your spouse go out and find someone? I don't know. It might be hard for them to go to somebody and say, look, I've got this porn habit. They already feel shamed enough. If they are unwilling to do that, then you guys are going to have to figure out how you can be their accountability as much as possible. So you guys need to put some things in place. Filters. Maybe, you just remind them, hey, don't take your phone to the bathroom, or don't have your phone in a room out when you're by yourself or something. If they find, whenever it is that they tend to look at porn the most, they need to stop doing that. They have to be open with you about it so that you guys can together brainstorm some ideas. And filters are only going to get you so far. It's okay to have some filters on, though. It really is. That might help put some blocks up. I don't know. But some amount of accountability is definitely important. you guys need to have a protocol of if your spouse gives into those temptations again, what do they do? How many hours do they have to come and tell you about it? Are you just going to ask them periodically? And who's that responsibility going to fall on? These are things you and your spouse have to figure out together. There is absolutely no like 5-step program to getting off of porn. I think that everyone is different. It is going to require something different for everyone. But I will say this to you, that if your spouse is really dealing with this, what they need from you is love and support and unconditional love. And guys, I know it's going to hurt when they mess up or they have a problem with it, and it seems like they keep messing up and they keep breaking your trust and they keep going back to square one. We are called to forgive and to love, and it is really hard. And this is that period of time, guys, where marriage is very, very hard. I will not sugarcoat this at all. I am not trying to make anybody who's watching this today think that they shouldn't feel hurt when their spouse does this. Yeah, you're going to be hurt. You're going to be mad. You're going to be upset. You're going to want to punch them in the face or whatever, Okay, that's just me. When I get mad, I just want to punch people. I don't suggest that, and I try not to do that. But it's okay to be upset and angry, but you need to temper that with your spouse's needs also, because they're already hurting. And you're hurting. And I'm going to tell you from personal experience, when both you and your spouse are hurting, lots of things can go down between you that you're going to regret. You just end up hurting each other more. So figure out with the both of you how you're going to best handle it. If you emotionally cannot take it for your spouse to tell you every time that they've messed up, then they are going to need an accountability partner. They just will. Someone other than you. But if you can get to a place in your marriage or in your relationship or whatever that you can kind of sit back and recognize, this is an addiction, this is not a personal attack against me, I know they love me, I want to help them to deal with this, then that might be a good solution for you guys, and you continue to help hold them accountable. So if you have any questions about this or just need someone to talk it through, because I know that it's very sensitive. You can't just run around and be like, oh, my spouse has a porn addiction and I'm going to tell everyone, because that is so personal and so sensitive. And the truth is, it's actually kind of not your place to share that with other people that your spouse knows. So if you need some confidence in that, I encourage you to find someone that can really counsel you through it. If you're struggling in a very bad way, maybe you need to go to a counselor, maybe you need to talk with a very trusted friend that can stay neutral, right? You need to make sure that you're always sharing these types of things with people that will exhibit wisdom and stay neutral, okay? So if you need to talk it through with someone, guys, you can always write into me, and I will definitely read what you have to say and just pray for you, because I know sometimes it can be really therapeutic to write, to do like journaling, but to know that there is someone on the other end that's going to just hear you. I know that. So if you want to write into me, you can always do that at keelie@lovehopeadventure.com. And I know this has been kind of a heavy scope, but I really wanted to address it. And I hope that this is just the first of many conversations that we have about porn use, because, guys, it's out there, it's a problem, and if it's not a problem for you right now, it could be. And it might be a problem for your kids. This is something we can't, put our head in the sand over. We've got to talk about it. We've got to address it. We've got to be bold and have those really awful, crushing conversations with our spouses and with our kids and with our society and with each other, because this is a problem and we got to stop standing for it. We got to stop pretending like it just doesn't exist. And if we don't talk about it, or if we just say, well, don't look at porn, it'll go away, because it's not going to. The industry is growing more and more every day. And we're going to have to figure out how we're going to fight back against it. So you can also check out fightthenewdrug.org, And I will link to that on my Periscope page. If you'll go to lovefordadventure.com/Periscope, I will link to that website that will give you a lot more information, a lot more resources about it. And thank you guys for joining me. I'm not sure if I'll get on tomorrow, but if I don't, I will at least see you guys on Tuesday. Y'all have a great day.